And welcome to The Verdict. Kent Myers flying solo once again this week without Mick Cornett, but I'm sure you'll be relieved to know that Mick will be back with us next week. Today we're really pleased to fulfill a promise to you. When we had Mike O'Neill, the president of Oklahoma Christian University, on a number of shows ago, he told us that he was on his way out to retirement, and he's going to stay with the university but not be president any longer, and the search was on. Well, the search has been completed, and we are bringing you today Mike O'Neill's replacement. Dr. John deSteiguer is the president-elect, and he will take over the reins at Oklahoma Christian University in June. We're going to bring him on today and talk about some of his background, some of his hopes and dreams for the university and his plans. I think you'll find it a very fascinating discussion about an institution that has a very honored and deep-rooted place here in our Oklahoma City community and in the state as well. So you're watching The Verdict. We're going to be gone for a couple of minutes to run some commercials for you. Watch those. You'll like them. They're awfully good. I've seen them. They're really worthwhile. Come back in a couple of minutes and meet John deSteiguer.
America has been here before, faced with daunting challenges, and we've always found the courage to lead. Foreign oil, greenhouse gases, we have the power to do something about them with American natural gas. Chesapeake is forging ahead, converting our fleets to clean-burning natural gas vehicles, encouraging others to do the same. Welcome to America. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Edmond, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Edmond, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers flying solo with Mick Cornett gone, but he will be back next week. Not that that'll make the show better, because we've got a really good guest today that's going to make up for Mick being gone. We're really pleased today to have Dr. John deSteiguer, the president-elect, or president-designate of OC, Oklahoma Christian University in Edmond. He will take office at the end of May. He will succeed Mike O'Neill, who's been a guest on the show a couple of times. John did his undergraduate work at Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, did his law work at Pepperdine University. He was a youth minister for a while in Tahlequah. He practiced law with a prestigious firm, a firm I'm very familiar with, Haynes & Boone in Dallas, and was a very fine practicing lawyer. His wife, by the way, is a lawyer as well. In '93, he returned to Tahlequah as advancement officer or development officer, depending on what title they might have chosen for him. But that's basically the fellow that's got to raise the money to make sure the institution keeps going. And he did a wonderful job there. 10 years later, in 2003, he was tapped to come to OC in Edmond to become development officer there. And he has been in that position until just recently, when the management at Oklahoma Christian tapped him to be the new president to succeed Mike O'Neill. John, glad to have you.
Good to be here, Kent. Thank you.
Now, before we get too far and get too wrapped up in these titles, we've got to see the real John deSteiguer. Okay. We've got a little video that was taken by your folks on campus at about the time you were selected, and then a few days later at a basketball game. This is very short, folks. It's only about 25 seconds, so you got to watch close. But we'll see who is number one first at his announcement of his selection at a university function, and then we'll see him take a last-minute game-saving shot for the Eagles. It is the Eagles, right?
It is, yes,
the
sir.
Eagles at a basketball game. So let's watch this video. You're going to see the real John deSteiguer. Say, I like that pose. And you go dance with the crowd.
Right.
Well, that's a mighty good way to make an impression on the students.
Well, I got that jersey number 1 because it was the smallest jersey they had in the closet. And then that shot during the halftime of the men's game is just great proof of the old adage that it's better to be lucky than good.
You made it the first time.
Actually, it was the second time.
Second time.
It was the second time. We had gone through the line, and they asked me to take another shot, and that's when it fell.
Well, 1 out of 2 isn't bad at that distance. We're going to ask you to go down and visit with the Thunder.
Well, you know, I'd be glad to, but I don't play defense. And, and
last night they didn't either. No, I'm sorry about that, folks.
They're a great team. If I could
they?
ball handle like Russell, if I could shoot like Kevin, if I could grow a beard like James, or if I could take the charges like Nick, I'd be a happy man.
One thing you don't want to do is adopt the facial expressions of Perk. Then you'll scare the students to death.
That might upset my mom. That's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the selection process for you being designated as president. How did that occur, and what did you think about it?
Sure. It was a great process. It was actually a pretty lengthy process. President O'Neill announced back in November of 2010 that he was going to step down 18 months later. We're governed by a board of trustees, about 33 individuals, locally, around the state and out of state as well. They put a 10-person search committee together, made up of 4 trustees, all of whom were here in central Oklahoma, 3 faculty members, a staff member, a student, and an alum. And they sifted through applications and nominations for much of the year and then narrowed it down to 2 finalists to interview on campus. Myself and the other finalists had a gauntlet of about 4 different groups that we interviewed with early in February, and then the decision went to the Board of Trustees, and they made the final decision.
About how many applications were there? Do you have an
Well,
idea?
I don't know specifically, although I did hear a number referenced that about 30 or so people from across the nation applied.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thanks.
We're glad that you're staying. You're not coming here to Oklahoma City or to Edmond. We're glad you're staying here with us.
It's great to be here.
Oklahoma Christian has a strong connection to educators who have had some prior connection with Pepperdine.
Right.
And you're just another in the long line of Mike O'Neill and others. Describe your experiences at Pepperdine. Now, that's related to the Christian church as well, is it not?
It's right. They were both founded by members of the Churches of Christ.
Right.
President O'Neill, of course, worked out at Pepperdine for over 25 years in various capacities before he came here to Oklahoma Christian. My wife, Darla, and I are both Pepperdine law graduates. Mm-hmm. Ken Miller, who is one of our faculty members, who's also the state treasurer, is also a Pepperdine alum. But Kent, it's not just a one-way street. It's really a two-way street. The president out at Pepperdine is Andy Benton. Andy is an Oklahoma Christian graduate.
Really?
Darrell Tippins is their provost, their chief academic officer, and he also is an Oklahoma Christian graduate. I like to refer to Pepperdine as OC West. We had a great experience in law school.
Same topography.
That's right.
You can't tell one campus from another.
We have a water feature on our campus as they do off their campus. Law school was a great experience for Darla and myself. We'd gotten married a month before we moved out there. It was a pretty short honeymoon. She is a very bright woman, did very well in law school. I did very well because I was in her study group. She would highlight the cases and I knew exactly what to read. We had a great experience there. Also lived in London one semester as a part of the Pepperdine Law Abroad program and graduated in 1989.
Well, there's another Oklahoma connection I can think of, and that's Bill Banowski, who was president of the University of Oklahoma, I guess, and then went to Pepperdine.
That's right. He was the president out at Pepperdine for a number of years as well. And he actually, in some ways, was the architect of the move for Pepperdine from Orange County out to Malibu.
You're being selected as president-elect and soon to be president from within. Does that have advantages and does that have disadvantages?
You know, it might have some disadvantages, but I don't see them right now. There are just so many advantages. I have been at Oklahoma Christian for 9 years. I know the faculty, I know the staff, have lots of friends, I know lots of the students, and maybe more importantly, they know me. But being there 9 years, I know our strengths, and I know those areas that we can spend a little bit of time improving and working on. But also, being here in Oklahoma City for the last 9 years, I've got a very good sense of what's happening in the city. Have lots of contacts and lots of friends. I'm an Eastern Oklahoma boy,
All right.
and having come to Oklahoma City for the last 9 years, I have really come to love and appreciate this place and the kind of leaders and community builders that we have. So I have a real advantage by knowing people already.
I read some things you have written, and one of the things that popped out at me that I want you to discuss just briefly is servant leadership. What do you mean by servant leadership?
Sure. You know, servant leadership is such a biblical principle. I mean, that is absolutely the ministry of Jesus. If you want to be a leader, you've got to be a servant. You've got to be a follower. If you want to be first, well, that's not what it's about. It's about being last. A place like Oklahoma Christian, the wonderful thing is there are so many people there, faculty and staff and students, all who lead as servants. That's I think one of the truly unique things about Oklahoma Christian.
Well, we've got to take a break here. We're out of time on this segment, but we'll be back for another segment. We're visiting with Dr. John deSteiguer, the president-elect, or president-designate of Oklahoma Christian in Edmond, and we'll be back in just a few minutes after we have a couple of commercials, and we'll visit some more with Dr. deSteiguer. You're watching The Verdict.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
We believe in bulldogs, rams, and Spartans. But above all, we believe in students. Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry is investing millions in education, equipping over 10,000 teachers with the nation's first energy-based curriculum. We're ensuring every Oklahoma student is equipped to lead America's energy future. Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, advancing our state, empowering our nation.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers visiting with Dr. John deSteiguer, the president-designate of Oklahoma Christian in Edmond, Oklahoma Christian University. He has just been named president and will take office in June, succeeding Mike O'Neill. We've been visiting in the first segment about some of Dr. deSteiguer's background. Let's talk a little bit now about something a little more personal. Tell us about your family.
Sure. Kent, I'm married to Darla. Darla is also an Okie.
She's a smart lawyer in the family.
She is the smart lawyer
that
in the
isn't
family.
my statement. That's yours.
That's correct. That's correct.
I'm not criticizing.
And everyone who knows her realizes that as well. She's an Eastern Oklahoma girl as well. Council Hill and Porter, her hometowns. We have 2 children, Joe, who is 19, and Abby, who just turned 17. I am an Eastern Oklahoma boy. My family moved to Eastern Oklahoma, the community of Lowry, back within about 5 years after statehood, and so I'm about a 4th or 5th generation Oklahoman. Lowry, Proctor, Scraper, suburbs of Tahlequah, and Tahlequah is my hometown.
That's the greater metropolitan area of
That's
Tahlequah.
right. That's correct.
Well, are your children affiliated with the university at all?
No, Abby is still in high school, and Joe is out working right now, and college is looking more and more attractive to him as he works.
I can understand that. What major changes do you anticipate? Or what, I should say, let's don't say what you anticipate, let's say what have you seen occur in the 10 years you've been at Oklahoma Christian? What kind of major changes have you seen in, for instance, facilities?
Boy, the last 9 or 10 years at OC, a number of things have occurred. In fact, the university has invested about $40 million in its housing. New apartments, new dormitories, renovating all of our dormitories and apartments. 80% of our undergraduate student body lives on campus. That's an astonishingly high number, but we have a real sense of community.
Particularly in a metropolitan area like this.
That's correct. That's correct. We've built new and expanded our science facilities. 95% of our science students that want to get into med school are accepted into med school, and we have great facilities for them. We've added athletic facilities, Dobson Field, our baseball field, the Bobby Mercer indoor practice facility next to it, Lawson Commons, which has the 100-foot Freedy Centennial Tower in the very heart of the campus. It's an officially designated Centennial site. Those are some of the really, really positive changes that have occurred on the physical campus the last 9 years.
Well, and you've endured some reasonably good economic times and some very poor economic times in that over that span. Now, I happen to know that that those things don't happen because you didn't discover oil on the campus.
I wish we had.
That happens because you raise money from the outside, and that's been your primary responsibility, has it not?
Well, that has been my primary responsibility. I've got a great team that I get to work with, and boy, the business and civic leaders and families here in Oklahoma City and our alums have just been incredibly generous.
Including our co-host, Mick Cornett.
That's correct.
Well, what changes in academic curriculum have you seen since you've been there?
You know, we've always been a very strong academic university, and we continue to do so, but we've added a nursing program, we have 3 accredited engineering programs, have added a Master's of Science in Engineering. In fact, we've added a new animation and gaming program, which is already recognized as one of the tops in the nation. So we have across the board outstanding academics that the students really are well prepared as they go through.
Well, we've had one of your faculty members on 2 or 3 times, Ken Miller, a man with unbelievably good credentials and capabilities, and yet he has such an affection for the university that he is maintaining his relationship with your university while also serving as state treasurer.
Well, Ken's doing a great job as the state treasurer, and we're very proud of him, and we're thrilled that relationship can continue. He's a great professor in the classroom.
Now, talk about why we have the university at all. Talk about the student body.
We've got, boy, I love the students. Over the last 9 or 10 years, we have grown by about 30%.
Wow.
45% of our students actually come from in-state. They are Oklahomans themselves. 44 states are represented in our student body. 61 nations are represented in our student body. We have a great relationship with the Republic of Rwanda, and we have 60 Rwandans on our campus. But here's the cool thing, and by the way, they're very, very bright. Our honors program, the average ACT score is 31 among our honors students, and that's remarkably high as well. Here's what I'm really proud of. We talk about the brain drain and losing college students from Oklahoma to other places. We actually are an importer of talent because while we only have 45% of our students that begin here in Oklahoma, about 85%, once they graduate, stay in the state. And we're really proud of that.
Talk a little bit about how the connection with the Church of Christ works. To what extent does the Church of Christ have to do with curriculum or running a university, or just kind of explain the connection?
Sure. Churches of Christ don't have a governing board. There is not something like a convention that everyone ascribes to. consequently, every congregation is autonomous. We were founded by members of the Churches of Christ back in 1950, actually in Bartlesville, and moved to our present location, which is in the city limits of Oklahoma City, in 1958. We have a daily chapel that all of our students have to attend. We have required Bible courses, but there's really not an overseeing body that's made up of an official body of the Churches of Christ that oversee the institution, although all of our trustees are members of the Churches of Christ.
Pretty soon, in a month or two, you're going to assume the responsibility as president. What are the major challenges that are facing you the first minute you walk in the door?
You know, there are several challenges that are facing all universities. One is the level of competition, Kent, it's going through the roof, and it's just going to continue. Not
competition
only competition for students, and competition from other traditional universities and colleges, but also other post-high school educational opportunities that students have, whether they're online or they're from for-profits or technology centers. Competition is just going to continue to grow. And another significant issue is cost. We need to be careful that we don't price ourselves out of the market for students that want to attend college.
Well, how do you do that and still maintain facilities and advance and the like?
Yeah, very difficult. However, we're committed to doing that. In fact, we have already announced that our prices next year will be the same as our prices this year. We've eliminated our fees. We have allowed our students next year to actually take more hours each semester than they're able to take now, so it's actually going to be even a better price point for our students. We're committed to the financial well-being of the families of the students that we have.
To what extent does the university provide scholarships, grants, and the like?
We do provide scholarships. It's important that we assist in the best ways that we can for students to be able to afford an education at Oklahoma Christian. By the way, we do a lot of fundraising, both with individuals, with families, with corporations and foundations, and we have a lot of very generous donors.
Well, that leads me to another question. You have vacated the position, or going to vacate the position of Director of Advancement.
Right.
Who's going to take your place?
Well, I do have my eye on somebody. Haven't announced it yet, but I've heard that the secret to success is to hire people and bring them around you that are much better than you. And so I've got the person that can do the job.
My father told me to do